Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shifan Pros, Empowered Women in Blockchains. I'm delighted to have you all back again every Wednesday, 7 p.m. UK time. It's a pleasure and an honour that you share your time here with us and our guest speaker. Our guest speaker today is Sunidhi. She's got some great things to share with you all, and I know that you're going to love her as much as I do. So without further ado, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today, and everybody that's watching back on the recording later. Thank you for being a fellow Shifan. Without further ado, I think, Sunidhi, thank you for being here. You're our first time guest speaker. I'm really pleased to have you here. And yeah, I'm happy for you to take it away.
Right. Thank you so much, Shelley. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak here today. I'll just quickly share my screen and we'll just start. Can you see my screen? Perfect. Right. So hello, everyone. I am Sunidhi Suri. I am super excited to be here today. I'm from India, and I'm an engineering student pursuing computer science in college. I am also 19 years old, and I happen to have a podcast called as What's Ahead. I started it last year around the month of June. In this podcast, I bring people who have dared to dream. They've done something different from the society and are passionate about the work that they do. They're great thinkers, and I come and share their stories. We all have those times in our lives where we feel stuck and we feel like we need advice related to our career or life paths. Through this podcast, I aim to do exactly the same. I want to expose my listeners to different career opportunities and divulge them into what lies ahead in the future. So, this podcast is available on Spotify, on Anchor, on Google Podcasts, and I also put this video recording on YouTube. You can just search my name on YouTube and you'll find it. And for Spotify and Anchor and Google Podcasts, you can just type What's Ahead and you'll get it. If you want, I can share the link towards the end and you can check it out. Right. So I started this podcast as a passion project. Back in high school, whenever I would see people voicing their opinions or giving talks or inventing something, just doing something out of the ordinary, I would ask myself, when would I do any of this? Don't get me wrong, I did do a lot of extracurriculars in school, but I just never really felt satisfied. I never felt like I was doing something that the rest don't do. I wanted something out of my mundane routine. Now I finally have something that I can call mine. So, amongst the many episodes that I've done, here are the three speakers that I've done my podcast with. The first one is Mr. Raj Kapoor. He is the godfather of blockchain in India. The second one is with Mr. Sahil Harjai. He is the business unit head of Vedantu in India. Vedantu in India is an online leading coaching platform for entrance exams for engineering and medical colleges. And the third one is Mr. Dushyant Mishra. He is the founder of an entrepreneurial venture, Unlearn.cool, and he lives in Mumbai in India. So I did my first episode with Mr. Raj Kapoor, and that is also how I got in touch with Shelley. He gave a talk in an event in my college, and that got me really interested in blockchain and cryptocurrency. And I honestly feel like digital currency really has the power to change the world. And I'm very grateful that he agreed to be on the first episode of my podcast and kickstart it. Right. So moving on to this quote, it says, creativity can solve almost any problem. I am a huge advocate for creativity. I feel like creativity allows us to view and solve problems more openly and with innovation. Creativity sort of opens our minds. I think it really has the power to change the world. Most times, our mundane routines gets obstructed, and because of that, we just are not creative in life, right? But I feel like we can be creative in in even the smallest things in life. And people should make active efforts to be creative. Right, so in this slide, I have a picture of Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs is my absolute idol. I have always been inspired by his vision and his genius. I am so obsessed with Steve Jobs that in ninth grade, I read his autobiography 3 times back to back. He inspires me to dream bigger every day. And through his story, I personally believe that it just helps people believe in themselves. The most important lesson that I have learned from Steve Jobs is that you should just keep doing what you love to do. And looking back, you will be able to connect the dots and everything in life just works out. This is sort of also my mantra in life, and I try to follow it every day. So moving on to the next slide, it is basically to care less about what other people think. In school, I used to be really, really scared of judgment. I was this person who is interested in science and I used to get good marks. Basically, I was a nerd and it was considered to be uncool in my school. So it really made me conscious of who I am. And one day I was just surfing through the internet and I came across this quote and it said, care less about what other people think, because at the end, everyone is just so worried about themselves and how they come across that nobody really actually cares. And I think this quote is something that has sort of changed my life, because otherwise I wouldn't have started this podcast. If I would have cared about people's judgment or what people would think about me, I really wouldn't have had the courage to start my podcast. Lastly, I would like to talk about mentorship. I think mentorship is super important in one's life. My college had a mentorship program, and I just joined it randomly because I just wanted to do something productive in college. But little did I know it would actually make my life so much better. So I was assigned a mentor. His name is Mr. Manjot Singh Basar, and he is also an alumni of my college. And he lives in the United States, and he is an assistant professor in Iowa State University. We used to get on Zoom calls and we used to have a session once a week. And he really helped me channelize my ideas and he gave them directions. We used to discuss scripts and he used to tell me what question should be put where and used to help me sequence the questions. He also used to tell me what should be added and what should be subtracted. And he introduced me to new concepts like design thinking, something that I'd never heard of before. And he really, really helped me network with people that has sort of changed my life. I believe that everyone should have a mentor in life. And this mentorship program really did revamp my life. And I'm super, super grateful for it. Right. So as this platform is about women empowerment, and we have gathered here in support of that, here are some things that I have to say. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. Released 24th of January, the International Day of Education and National Girl Child Day in India, the brief indicates stark disparities in female literacy rates. Infrastructural issues, including distance from school, has always remained as an important roadblock for girls to access higher education. The policy brief states that in rural India, for every 100 elementary schools, there are only 14 secondary schools and only 6 higher secondary schools offering education. UNESCO, in its 2012 report, shows that 13.54 million South Asian students leave school before completing their primary education. Most of them are girls. Why? Why do they drop out of school? 1, they're engaged in domestic activities at home. 2, they have financial constraints. 3, they are not interested in education. And 4, they get married. This is not it. In the urban areas, women face sexism every day throughout the world, and they are paid unequally. According to the gender pay gap statistics for 2020 pay scale in the US, the uncontrolled pay gap shows that women earn 81% for every $1 that is earned by a man. And the controlled pay gap is $0.02. That means a woman makes $0.98 for every dollar that a man makes. The pay gap could be because of lower education rates, lower workforce participation, the notion of feminine jobs, and lack of legislation pertaining to equal pay, along with cultural norms such as women can't hold power, women are less intelligent, women should be homemaker, and women should raise children. Despite all this awareness that is there in the world, one idea that still stays stable in people's minds is that women bear children and are primary caregivers. In the US, the UK, and even in the progressive Scandinavian countries, surveys have shown that only a fraction of population thinks that women should work full-time when they have young kids. But this needs to change. I have a story to share. I once heard a story of a young girl of age 14 being pulled out of school because her parents would rather spend money on her brother's education. Why? Because eventually she would get married and she would have children, and spending money on her education would be useless. I get completely thrown away by listening to these kind of stories. These are girls like me who deserve basic human rights and they deserve education. I applaud each and every woman over here to be such a badass. And I encourage each one of you to keep going and to keep fighting on. Through my podcast, I want to present empowered women like you to my listeners. And these women could be inspirations to many out there and to the ones who lend their ears to my podcast. I have already invited Shelly to be on my podcast, and it would be an honor to have her. I also invite each and every woman in this community to be on my podcast. If anyone is interested, they can reach out to me, and I would love to share your story. If more women are there on my podcast, I feel like it would be an inspiration for people listening, and it would help uplift women in this world. Even if you don't want to be on my podcast, we can just have a chat. I would love to know your story. Right. So if you have any questions, you can ask them, and you can reach out to me on Instagram. You can reach out to me via my email. It is sunidhisuri02@gmail.com. Also on LinkedIn. And thank you so much, everyone.
Wow, thank you, Sunidhi, so much. That was absolutely amazing, very powerful stuff, actually, very informative, very insightful, and very powerful stuff, and beautifully presented as well. Just beautiful. And I know we're here as empowered women, and we're passionate about that, aren't we? All of us, each and every single one of us, the women here on the call today, the women that are going to be watching back on the recording. It's something that's very close to our heart. And I think what you're doing is great. I think it's really great what you're doing, and I think you very, very inspirational. You're a young lady that's got great passion burning in her heart, and really is trying to affect some change, meaningful change for the better. And I love that. I really love that. And it's just been an honor to have you here at SheFamPro today. Joanne, do you have any questions or any feedback before we let Sunidhi go?
No, that was brilliant. I couldn't believe it when you said I'm 17. I mean, just amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I'm just blown away. So anybody that obviously wants to connect with you, Sunidhi, you've explained where you are. Are you on any other social media that the ladies can find you?
Right. So I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is sunidhi.suri. You can reach out to me over there. You can also reach out to me on my email address. It is sunidhisuri02@gmail.com. And you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Fabulous. Thank you ever so much. So obviously, if any of the ladies that are watching would like to feature on your podcast or have a chat with you, they can contact you by any of those means, should they want to have that conversation with you. That's
Absolutely.
absolutely perfect. And Sunidhi, I think you and I need a chat as well as soon as we can, because I'm just, you know, my mind's bursting with ideas of how, you know, Shifan Pro can support what you're doing, and how you might be able to support us as well. You know, would love to, you know, do some collaborative working, I think, because that would be fabulous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get on a call real soon and
Yes.
let's decide.
Yes, perfect. Thank you ever so much. Well, Sunidhi, what can I say? Thank you so much. I hope you'll come back again in the future and be a guest speaker at Shifan Pro and let us know how you're doing and keep us, you know, appraised of any, you know, developments and the great work that you're doing. You know, I think it's magnificent and you should be very, very proud of yourself. And I mean that wholeheartedly. And in the meantime, ladies, you know, keep being awesome. You know, listen to what Sunidhi's just shared with us. You know, just keep pushing forward, and you know, and just keep that passion going, because we deserve it. So without further ado, that's everything for Shifan Pro's Empowered Women in Blockchains this evening. I'll see you all again next week at 7 p.m. GMT. And in the meantime, stay blessed, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Sunidhi.
Bye.
Bye, Shah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.